back.
I want to start off by simply saying this. Not every fight that one brother has, the other brother has to have a fight the same person. I don't think they have to fight the same people. I don't want to. If you want me to be honest, Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather's a nice little fight, nice little thing, cool for Logan. Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul, cool little fight, yeah, it's over. I don't want to see Logan versus Tyron Woodley. I don't want to see Jake versus Floyd Mayweather because the circumstance eventually changes when you swap out the brother. When you swap out who is in the situation, the fight becomes something entirely different, and it's a different feel for it. But Anderson Silva, I do not think should fight Jake. I think Logan would be a better match for him because of height and reach wise. I think that would be the better fight, and I think it swings more towards a Logan fight than a Jake fight. I don't think both brothers should really fight him, but I think it would be one of the only ones that I could actually semi-see being a thing outside of a KSI fight. But I don't think that they should be like fighting the same opponents a lot of times or doing this. I don't think they should, but hey, it's fine, I guess. I guess it's fine if they're going to be fighting each other later down the line, so I guess.
And I hate to say it, but today is another Jake Paul video because there's not much going on in the combat sports scene, at least not right now. As much as I may hate it, Jake Paul is the name in the combat sports world that everyone seems to be calling out. You're talking Jorge Masvidal, you're talking Tyron Woodley for the rematch, you're talking Vitor Belfort after he was on more sauce than a fucking plate of spaghetti and knocked out a man that was applying for AARP benefits and Evander Holyfield. Like, that was
funny.
a whole fucking circus in itself. And you got Vitor saying he wants to be Jake's daddy and have
That's
Jake
kinda
sit
weird.
on his lap. It's
Yeah,
not
that
the
was.
insult that you think it is, Vitor. But anyway, you have those guys. You have Tommy Fury, who I thought was going to be the next fight for Jake because in Jake's camp, that's who they are saying they want next. So, yeah, that fight makes sense too. But above all those names stands one man that, in my opinion, is the best fight for Jake, for the people that don't like Jake, and for this continued storyline that he is on his career trajectory, and that is the Spider Anderson Silva.
No, I kind of don't really favor that personally. The only reason, once again, is because of height and reach. I think that favors more of Logan, and that's more of a Logan fight than Jake fight. To me personally, I don't think because I feel like they probably will do that fight eventually, but I think right now he has a bigger problem right now. And I think we call that problem, I think the name of the problem may be something along the lines of a, what's his name? Tommy Fury, there you go.
Tell you exactly why. Not only is Anderson the best fight for Jake as far as the optics, the sellability, the competition, all that, but why he might be the first MMA fighter that Jake's fought that's also a better boxer than he is. The breakdown, let's go. All right, so the first thing I want to set aside for people that are like, oh, well, there's other people that are bigger draws than Anderson Silva out.
I wouldn't say for the bigger draw, but I would just say for, like I'm saying right now, it's strictly because I believe it's more of a Logan thing to do this, at least Logan to go at him first, because we've seen a lot of Jake recently, and I think Logan should get some time in the spotlight right now. Personally, I want to see Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva confirmed tomorrow or something like that before I see Jake Paul versus him. I'm sorry. The Problem Child versus the Spider, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that those aren't really good. I'm just simply stating I want to see the Maverick, basically. I want to see the Maverick fight.
Therefore, Jake, and he could fight guys like Jorge Masvidal or even Nate Diaz. And Jake himself.
Which are two weird names to put, because I do believe it becomes a duration match if he takes on Nate. I do believe that Nate has just a better cardio system than Jake ever will, just personally. And I also believe that he doesn't even need to know how to fully box. He just needs to know just a little bit of how to keep Jake at bay, and he could win the fight. Let's be real. Masvidal, I don't know what happened. I mean, I saw there was a video, but I never watched it. I was like, I'll watch it later down the line. I kind of don't care right now. But I'm like, I don't know. I kind of don't really care for the Masvidal fight, if you don't mind me saying. I kind of really don't care for that. I mean, it'd be nice if it happens, but it'd be one of those not too much into. It'll be one of those. It's like, you know how you have people that you like and people you don't like. It's like watching someone you like, but you're not just that much invested in. I'm not really that much invested in Masvidal. I've never been that much invested. I've only known him for a few reasons, and that's one for the Ben Askren knockout and the Nate Diaz fight. That's it. There's nothing else I know him for. Oh, and getting the spit and every sweat knocked out of him.
Self wants this, and listen, he not only wants it, he's going as far as to try to drag the name of Street Jesus through the mud. And if you don't believe me, you're going to want to take a look.
Jorge, got some millions for you to fight. Is your daddy gonna let you come out? He gonna let you come out and play Daddy Dana? Fucking bitch. If he ever lets you out of that contract, I'm baptizing the fuck out of you.
Street Jesus you're talking to, man. Listen, he's...
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Masvidal don't have it in him to fight Jake. I'm just saying that it's not the most interesting fight that I want to see. And let's be real. I do believe. Let's see. What's name has been humbled to a point where you know he can lose fights, like stuff like this, like the stand-up game and stuff like that. But in a situation like boxing, I don't know, because it is different. So.
Not one of the guys that'll keep it in the ring. You better hide the problem thought. You better bring the problem bot and rent out a whole fucking problem parking lot with security guards, because he will find you.
That's not
Jake
right.
wants that fight. He's going so far as to, again, poke the bear at Dana White and Jorge Masvidal, but there are those two words that we all know is going to keep that fight from happening, and it is Dana White. Dana White's not going to let his guys who are big draws in his company go fight for competition without getting some of this. In Dana's mind, it probably doesn't do him as much of a service as staying away from it.
George Masvidal was kind of jawing back and forth with him.
Masvidal's under contract with me.
Well, you said he is under contract.
Yeah.
Right, that's the thing, and you have Jake over here just saying, just get Dana, let you out. Get Dana, let you fight him. Is at some point, do you want to bring
Hey, Jake.
to get out?
Hey, Jake. Anderson's out. Anderson Silva's out.
And then we have to fucking talk about Vitor Belfort, the fucking hitman for the scumbag squad over at Triller. That's right, Ryan Kavanaugh, I'm talking to you. This dude basically paid Evander Holyfield to come in and be a sacrificial lamb to a guy that is juiced and rejuiced more than Trainwrecks TV and his gambling streams. Listen, I know Vitor would beat my ass, but I'm not gonna lie. The guy is 44 years old, looks 32, acts like he's 25, his nipples are longer than most people's attention spans, and his trap muscles could crush Coke cans. But like I said, they brought him in to be a fucking crypt keeper for Evander Holyfield, a legend in the boxing game. It was a scumbag move, but...
I'm sorry. This fight had me a little heartbroken. It wasn't the worst loss I've ever seen, but it was one of those losses that made me say, well, dang, the man's was gone. Like, why is he in the ring right now? I would rather see Mike Tyson versus him right now than this. Like, what the fudge? I think 2019 people mentioned this. Or was it 2020? Either way, go. They mentioned not that long ago. I prefer that than this. What the fudge?
It was done so that they could try to get a fight with Jake, and apparently there's a $30 million winner-take-all offer. Jake, again, in Ariel's interview yesterday, called it out and said, okay, put it in escrow, because he doesn't believe Triller has that money. I don't believe Triller has that money. And even if they did, what pay-per-views are they expecting to sell with Vitor Belfort? I don't know why Jake still wants to do business with those clowns. They have continued to show they are inept in their production.
I didn't like the whole Jake Paul Triller thing. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, I may not be the biggest Jake Paul fan, but they did my man's dirty, and through who they hired to do the stuff, that was basically more of a concert than a goddamn boxing event. Thanks, Snoop Dogg, for being there, and Homeboy I don't know who he is. I'm so sorry. I don't know who he is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know about too many boxers. I'm not even gonna act like I know about all the boxers. I don't. But whoever Homeboy who came back, dope for you. But other than that, bro, no. This whole thing right here, this entire thing with Triller makes me just cringe. When I saw that they even had a fight, I was like, cool, cool, cool. But then I already said what I had to say about Triller. I said I didn't like the one event, and I darn sure didn't like that they were basically already hyping up another fight with a very freaking good lightweight. My man, no, they got one of the best lightweights, to take out every other lightweight there is. You know exactly who I'm talking about. You know exactly, bro. They did my man's dirty. Just him being involved in that. I wouldn't have him in it, even if they paid money for this man to be involved. I don't give a fudge, bro. I wouldn't even keep him nowhere near it. He was safe from Triller. The Zone, he has more places to go. No, they tripping.
They're completely oblivious to what real competition is, and they
Yes.
just don't give a fuck about the safety of anybody
Yes.
that steps onto their card. So no, I don't think that fight happens. I mean, maybe it could. Maybe the 30 million's enough to entice Jake. But out of the people left, you have Tommy Fury, who, yes, he's a legitimate boxer. He's a young guy. It
Yeah, I
makes
think
sense.
that's a better
Him and Jake
fight for
are kind of
Jake.
on the same trajectory. The fight itself would be competitive, in my opinion. But
Is that the
Frank
Joker who
Warren is not
laughs?
coming off of that 50-50 split that he
No, it's
wants
not.
for Jake and Tommy. And I know Jake's not going to give Tommy
Who's
that because
Joker when
it
he
doesn't
took-
make a lot of
when he,
sense, right?
that's
Tommy's not
when he
bringing
had
the
the
same
face
viewership
peeled.
that Jake is. And when you talk about fights that build intrigue, that's what Jake wants. A name that is going to build intrigue to bring people.
Very much so. I'm not saying the Spider can't do it. I'm not saying the Spider Silver can't do it. I'm not saying it. I'm just simply stating I would prefer a Tommy Fury fight before I see that fight. I'm so sorry. No.
To the fight, to watch him fight, not only in person but sells pay-per-views. And there's not a bigger star of the people available than Anderson Silva. And I don't know what his deal looks like with Triller. Again, he was a part of that card. He did knock out Tito Ortiz, who looked like he had just picked up the controller to a fighting.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That fight was garbage. Like, how do I put this? That entire fight, basically, in a sense, if you've never seen it, I can describe it to you. Take an inexperienced person that's not in shape against someone who's extra prepared for the fight. That's what that fight looked like. Bro was dodging punches that he didn't even need to dodge. I'm sorry. Homeboy was a little too ready to dodge. For me watching it, he was a little too ready to dodge. He low-key could have just ended that fight quicker than it already was. I'm so sorry. And then the way it ended just made me say, you know what I smell? Stupid.
Video game he never played and was
Or
just
Cap,
spamming the
whichever
same
one.
button. But we know Anderson does have legitimate skill. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., made him look like the disappointment that all boxing fans have said he's been for a very long time. He's known across the world as being one of the best strikers to ever live. Now, in reality, I don't know what the competition level of that fight would be, but I do know that some people will think Jake is going to beat this old man, another MMA fighter that's past his prime. Here goes Jake doing what he does. It's going to...
I think the one big reason I don't want to see this fight before, a Tommy Fury fight is because of this. Because of how people scaled Tommy Fury in like a realistic point of view. Like, he's not... Like, let's put him to let's put in a realistic. Tommy Fury is good. Levels better than Jake, but it's not so far that Jake just can't scratch the surface. Like, Jake can scratch the surface and actually potentially put some gloves to this man and have a closer fight than I think with the Spider Silva. Are you kidding me? A man that was actually good at boxing in his tenure with the UFC. I don't know if you know this, but I watched this from Roundhouse Radio because I didn't know too much about the Spider Silva. I'm not gonna lie to no one. I've known him for a few fights. The one where he, I think he broke his what's the name, and the Israel Adesanya fight. Those are one of my two favorite fights to watch. Well, only really the Israel Adesanya fight is my favorite one to watch. To be honest with you, if you want to be honest. Joey, did I just mention when he got hurt was my favorite fight? No, that was not my favorite fight. That was the one I remembered. That's stupid of me to say. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. But no. The reason I don't want to see the fight personally for me is real simple. Tommy Fury is a better match because Tommy Fury isn't on the highest level, and he may be a very good boxer, but he's not on, to me, a level that could go against a world champion or a small-time champion. I believe the only way he goes against a small-time champion if he puts on those lovely, lovely big oversized gloves, and he does put on that helmet to go for amateurs. I think he wins that, but he's not taking on someone like Canelo. He's not taking on Triple G. He's not taking on none of those other guys. No, not happening. I refuse. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll say this. If they wanted to try to market for that fight, I would say one thing for Triller. You're marketing the wrong guy. You're marketing a guy that really wasn't impressive to me, that looked average at best to me personally, and that's someone who doesn't fight. And I barely do anything. I can do barely anything out here. Maybe a little head movement, maybe. But even I feel like I could do better than him. That's basically big Moana over here. I'm sorry, not Moana. What was The Rock's character in Moana? Whatever The Rock's character was, that's basically like just a big version of him. But the only difference was Homeboy is actually skilled. The guy from Moana was actually skilled. You look pathetic. I'm sorry. It may be some people say, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. It didn't look too good. It didn't look that impressive to me. He was, yeah. He was average. I don't know. Maybe it's because who he was up against and the way that whole thing went down. But it didn't look impressive at all to me. Silva was very more impressive than him. And I prefer that fight. If I had to pick out of those two, and I could put Tommy Fury in the mix. But that's just that.
Draw attention, and there's going to be the other side of that, which is the MMA fans going, there's no fucking way that Jake Paul beats one of the best strikers to have ever lived. Yes, he's in his 40s now. Yeah, he's not the same guy anymore, but he is a better striker than Jake has ever seen.
And then on top of that, from Roundhouse Radio said this, and this is one of the big reasons why I don't want to see it for Jackson. His striking, from what he stated, he said that somehow, some way, his striking has gotten better in boxing terms than MMA terms. Because, MMA, a lot of times the hands are low. They kind of can bob around a lot. They can do the spinning kicks and stuff like that. It's not purely a boxing thing. It's more of your entire body is the instrument. When it's just the hands and you're limited to only hands, he's still a threat. And even then, he looks like not a seasoned professional. Well, no, let's be real. He does. The bobbing and weaving that he did in that fight was, yes, it was too fast for someone who was punching that slow, but the technique and everything he was using may not be the most flawless thing, but it shows that he can be on the defense and not just on the offense. What I'm stating is this. I don't want to see the fight for one of the biggest reasons. It's a clear victory that Jake has no chance in. This is one of the few fights that I can say wholeheartedly, Jake doesn't have a chance. He has a chance to outbox a bunch of people, but lose to more power than anything else. Tyron Woodley, he was going to outbox Tyron Woodley, but we knew Tyron Woodley was going to have way more power than Jake ever could have at the moment. So, yeah. Then I prefer Logan, but hey, that's fine. If people want to see what's the name first, I would prefer him to take on Tommy Fury, and if they could make that in a one night thing, let's have Logan against Silva. Paul versus Silva, or the Paul versus Fury. Let's just run it in the same night.
Level that Jake has never been to, and even in his 40s still, not hard to believe that he would be a better boxer than Jake has not only ever seen, but than Jake himself. It does make a lot of sense for Jake and Anderson next, because to move on, to finally close the door on MMA fighters, you gotta beat the final boss. And Anderson Silva, one of the greatest strikers in history, and by the way, only 2 years removed from going the distance with the current middleweight champion of the world,
love that fight.
Israel Adesanya. It's not like he's completely washed. I know his chin is a little deteriorated, and that's always scary for a guy in their 40s to be going in there and still doing it versus young guys like Jake. But I gotta admit, I think this is the fight to make. Anderson gets a shit ton of money, and again, Jake gets that same game plan that he's had for every single fight. The people that say Jake has a legitimate shot in the people that say there's no fucking way he beats Anderson Silva. It makes all the sense in the world to me. I think the idea of Jake going in with one challenge left in the MMA fighter, bringing him over to boxer's realm, and should he beat Anderson, then making that transition to boxing is a more natural step than leaving that fight when it's perfectly set right there in front of you. And Anderson being...
I think the only reason that I kind of feel the way I feel for it is for one big reason. I prefer Logan once again, but if we kick Logan out of the situation and we're only having it in Jake's path, the reason that I prefer once again Tommy Fury first is because of this. I think Tommy Fury is on a low level that's not too much past Jake. That, yes, is levels above Jake, yes, but it's not too high where Jake is just unable to compete. I do believe that what's his name is a little slicker in the ring. I have to say he is very much slicker in the ring. Just like I said, it was slow punches, and that was his most recent fight. Someone slow with the moves, kind of very sluggish. And he was over-prepared for that fight, let's be real. He was over-prepared for that fight. So imagine if he took on someone that is quicker, with a little more power to him, and a little more choreographed. Jake's losing this fight. Well, unless Jake massively improves in a short span of time, or he was playing with us when he took on Tyron Woodley. That's the only way.
That final line of defense with all of the MMA community on his back with their hand.
Oh yeah, plus the Spider Silva has had 2 fights now that kind of, he has 2 boxing matches now. So I kind of have to say he's kind of walking away from the MMA world and he's kind of stepping into the boxing ring. So I kind of see him as a boxer now, not just an MMA guy. So, yeah.
Pressed together saying, please, Anderson, do away with this problem man-child that has been haunting us for the last year to 2 years. Like I said, I think Anderson going in is the better boxer. No doubt in my mind about that. Yeah. And legitimately, not my bias saying Ben's going to win because Jake has never been there. Legitimately, with the skills on display, the talent both guys have, Anderson could be the savior of the MMA community. He could be the one and only MMA fighter that Jake can fight right now, that can not only beat him, but do what Jake has been doing to everyone else and outbox him. That would be the insanity that is 2021 if those two do fight. I think it's more of a realistic possibility than people are maybe giving it credit for. And if Jake does want to fight one more time this year, we have 3 months left, and both guys just got done fighting kind of back-to-back recently, and that fight could be made fairly quickly. So those are my thoughts, man. I do still think that Tommy is probably the guy they still want to go with next.
Yeah, probably.
Especially because I don't know if Anderson's contract with Triller is up, or the same concerns I had with Vitor and how they would get that deal done I would have with Anderson Silva. But the right fight and the best fight to make is no doubt in my mind Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. And the question I have as we leave off, what do you guys think? Who's the next fight for Jake? And
Tommy Fury. I prefer Tommy Fury on top of all that. I think Tommy Fury's levels is pretty good, but it's not too far where Jake is just... Like, how I put it, it's like Tommy Fury is above Jake, yes, but I do not believe it's too far where Jake just cannot touch him at all. I do think Jake can hit him a few good times, but I think Silva, he probably would have so much more of a problem, and that's why I prefer that. Because if he fights Silva before he fights Tommy, let's be real, Silva wins, and it's stupid, and it's going to feel like, I believe if we're talking about fights Jake's trying to get 2-3 years later, he's trying to fight Canelo in 2-3 years, I would say no. You swap it immediately, and you swap a great number. I say 12 years. I still say 12 because I think he needs a lot more time to be able to take on a defensive specialist like this guy who has the power. So, yeah, Canelo may have his set problems that come with everything he brings. Oh my goodness, yes. Triple G, the very first one. But other than that, no. I do believe that what's the name wins it. That it'll be best for Jake to take on Tommy Fury first before Silva even becomes mentioned from out of his mouth personally. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the issue. All right, let's go play Call of Duty.